Allow me to introduce our panelists this morning. Earlier on, I had introduced to you Richard Onyonka, who's a member of parliament for Kitutu Chache South. Also, we're joined this morning by Alice Wahome. She is a member of parliament for Kandara. We have also Samuel Pogisio, Senator West Pokot. Also, Kongo Mogini, Senator Nyamira. We have Herman Manyora, who is a resident political analyst. And we continue pace with the conversation. First of all, we just want to begin with what you can see on the front page of the Daily Nation, and this is in light of the Grade 3 National Assessment. People are saying these are very young pupils that should be subjected to, a national assessment. And in light of the CBC, we are trying to do away with the do-or-die exams. Why should we go full steam ahead and have another national assessment, right? So maybe we can begin from the academicians as well. This is Herman Manyora on this. Do you think this is the way to go? We're trying to do away with exams, and still we have 8-year-old now in September who will be sitting for a national assessment.
If ever you needed a reason to conclude that this CBC is an animal and a farce and a big joke, this is just it. You see, you put it well. Class 3 will be around 8 years.
8 year.
Let's face it. Exams anywhere in the world, exams for anything, have an element of terror in them. They terrorize the individual.
Yes.
Whether a normal human being facing an exam, any test of whatever, however little, that has some consequence on your tomorrow, introduces some kind of fear. Now, if you are going to terrorize 8-year kids, they remember many years before actually I didn't see it myself. There was another animal called CEE, Common Entrance Exam. It terrorized people at class 4. And if I look back, I think the main reason was the age at which it was administered. Children at that age are too young to comprehend certain things. And therefore, when you introduce fear into the whole mix, you mess everything else. And this CEE, for the information of the ministry, if they are forgotten, and the records are there, people used to sit it until they grew beards. look for anybody older than me slightly. They will tell you that was terror. CEE, Common Entrance Exam. Now, if we are having anything similar to that, it may not necessarily be the same in terms of scale, but just the principle of terrorizing a class 8 kid. We are coming from a background in which exams are everything in this country. The premium placed on exams is so high that if we are going to cascade this down to class 3 kids, actually for heaven's sake, if there is nothing else they can do about this CBC, I would rather they didn't implement it, but I have no power. But if there's nothing else they can do, let them wipe from this table the whole idea of any form of testing, for a kid at that level.
Thank you.
Forgive them for other things, not this one.
Not this one. Right. Our small children are being, subjected to very, should I say, torturesome moments where you have huge bags, waking up in the wee hours of the morning.
Children must be allowed to be children, for heaven's sake.
They are not children anymore. Let's hear from Alice Wahome. Good morning.
Morning, Dibal.
Of course, you're a mother. Now, this will really be very dear to your heart as well.
I'm a mother of adults, actually.
Adults.
Right now, adults. But I think, and I still remember my own experiences, even without going to my children's experiences, where they had those huge bags that Professor Manyora is talking about. But I think that I don't agree that we need to do any form of assessment. It's an exam. Anything to do with an assessment is actually an exam. What I'm wondering is what do they aim to achieve for a child of, or from a child of 8 years? I think the fact that they will wake up and they know that there is an assessment that is likely to either, even for the parents themselves, at that age, you have a lot of hopes for your child, and you don't want to start being told, unless it's a medical condition, you don't want to be told that your child's level of maybe education understanding is poor. I think it is wrong, and there is no way they can tell us. If it was individual or tutoring in
Yes.
this country,
Yes.
so that you know you are doing that so that you can be able to understand each child. You see, they are trying to tell us competence-based. The whole thing, I think then it has started on the wrong footing. There are jitters that the children, and I think even for this table here, if today we were told tomorrow we will sit for a form of assessment of whatever nature, I think we shall we shall stop coming here. We shall start reading overnight so that in the morning we can be prepared. I think it is wrong to terrorize kids at this age. This maybe should be at around maybe 14, 15 years. Yes.
14, 15 years. And
I think that's a bit, where they have already known what is cool about. This is just the time they are starting their education.
because we understand that the CBC is predicated on the notion that this will be a continuous assessment.
There are
Continuous.
about 3 of them.
Yes.
Continuous, at what age are you starting is critical for me. I think I would want to understand why they think it is important. Even like these days, they are also doing some entrance exam. Is it an admission exam for law school?
Yes.
Graduates who have already finished a law degree, they are being asked to sit for an entrance exam to determine whether they can enter a law school to actually get a diploma. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, honestly speaking.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say Fremo Onyonka on this.
For me, I think Dibal once again is the problem we've been having, where the government departments, the Department of Education, comes out and makes an announcement. You have in Parliament the Education Committee. You have members of the Senate, I believe, who also have an Education Committee. The minister should have consulted and engaged thoroughly. This is a matter that all the stakeholders need to sit down and discuss before a decision like this is made. As a result, even if they meant well, even if CS Mahoa means well and wants to implement this policy, maybe because the Ministry of Education for a long time has done research on it or otherwise,
Yes.
my problem is we need to have government come out when government wants to change any policy issues on any sector. Allow the stakeholders to discuss. Allow the public to have public hearings. As we speak, I don't know whether the public has been having any hearings about this. All right, and like as my colleagues have said here, surely you take a child who is going to be 8 years and standard 3. You are telling this child go and do an exam. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Right, Okongo Mogini.
Yes, thank you, Debal. I think there's a time we used to hear that government works in perpetual succession, so that what should drive government policy is not the individual cabinet secretary, but the policy, which should encompass wide consultation within government. Now, Debal, I serve in the Education Committee at the Senate level.
Yes.
And you will be shocked that the CS who was there before Magoa, Ambassador Amina Mohammed, appeared before our committee. And I think this was covered. It was public. The sitting was public. And, she confessed and told us that today I want to own up this CBC. We have not had enough consultation.
Yes.
We have not brought the teachers on board. We have not even trained them. And she said she needed at least 2 years before she could start implementing.
And several billions.
Yes. And I think after that there was a lot of heat. I don't know whether she was summoned to State House. Shortly thereafter there was a reshuffle. She was kicked out of that ministry, sent to sports. And then in comes Magoa, who comes in with this notion that he never engages in reverse gear. And he just wants to push these things down the throat of Kenyans. And I want to tell you, in the sectors where if you talk to parents, there is confusion. If you talk to the teachers, there is confusion. I think it's only Magoa who maybe knows where he's going. But I don't think that's how we should handle education issues. Really, this is something that I don't know what is the hurry. Why is it a life and death situation?
Yes.
That it must be done tomorrow, whether you like it or not. I think this is the time we should tell Magoha that you can't joke with the lives of 7-year-old children, 8-year-old, try to traumatize them. It will not cause any harm if we engage a reverse gear on this. Let him engage widely. And then let him also look at what the previous holders of that office of CS, what comments that they made. Who is he to think that he can disregard the views of, and I'm sure for Amina to speak, there must have been some advice from technocrats from the Ministry of Education, but whom possibly Magoha does not want to listen to. I think as members of parliament, there is a consultative meeting that has been called by Magoha for tomorrow and Wednesday that brings together members of National Assembly and the members of the Senate. And we must put Magoha on the dock. We must cross-examine him to tell us why he wants to be in a hurry in implementing this competence-based curriculum, whereas we know that key stakeholders, the teachers, the parents, and I think even the pupils are not ready for this. I think this is not something that we need to hurry. I want to urge, is it Professor Magoha, to apply some brakes on this, engage in wide consultation before we agree on the length of period we need. And I will propose that what Amina told the Senate committee, that she needed 2 years to consult, I think that was a very wise decision. But telling us that you want to implement this in September, I don't think it's realistic, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course,
let me just support
Magoha
a little bit here. Let's not be too hard on Magoha. He's new in this place, and also, Dibal, this new system will have begun earlier. It's not like our class 3 kids cannot take an exam. I mean, that also is not true. We have tortured these kids, prepared them for this torture already. We did many years ago, so they're ready. These kids, they will handle an exam.
They are torture resistant.
Yeah, I mean they really are hardened kids. These kids, they wake up at 5 to go to school, at 4 to prepare to go to school. They carry those kilos and kilos. They have no sporting in their schools. There's no extracurricular activities, just study. But I think, Dibal, sometimes we just beat up these guys for nothing. If the system is CBC, the assessment needs to come early. It's not it's not an exam. It's an assessment to know where to place them, because you must place them. Now, this is actually curriculum-based. These are actually what you call, they're supposed to be individualized. So they need to know where the kid is early. And I've not supported the system, but I'm just saying once it is declared as CBC, we must allow CBC and its systems, including those assessments, to take place early. Instead of, so we are either with CBC or we are not. But once we say CBC, this is part of the CBC.
But what is diametrically different between a national assessment and, let's say a KCSE, or for that matter, KCPE? It's just, I think, semantics. Because it's one exam that actually you're looking forward to.
An
aside from,
it is.
An exam is an exam intended to test, to get outcomes, to test, to show evidence of learning, and to see whether we like it or not. Because progression is a pyramid in nature. At some point, there will be fewer people going up than those remaining behind, anywhere in the world. So much as we talk about 100% transition, how can you then contradict yourself? 100% transition to high school and perhaps to university when you are already beginning to torture people. I agree with Pogisho, we've been torturing these kids. But I also want to remind him that time has come when we must stop this. You see, again, the system is good. I support my boss. Magoha is my boss. I support him. But you see, I also have to point to him that anything that is done in secret, in darkness, there's always something bad about it. Anything that is surrounded with lies. When we challenge these fellows to tell us when they did the pilot, they say they were doing the pilot. Then we ask them, pilot with class 1, 2, 3, yes, everything? You do pilot with a whole population, or you sample a few and do pilot? They say, no, these are different, these are pilots. And then we ask them, and then you are spending billions producing books. Supposing after the pilot you realize this is not the right way to go. But now here they are telling us it was not a pilot by action. Because now we are testing people to progress into class 4. Material is being produced, has been produced to grade 3. So again, all these kind of lies. It could be a good thing, but explain it to Kenyans. I want to honor, I'm a very small man myself. So if I don't know what it is, it can be understood because I'm a small man.
Right.
I've heard even MP saying they also don't know. So if all of us really don't know about this animal, I think, and you people in the media, you have a mistake. You make a mistake.
Why?
When you invite these so-called experts here, they are experts, director of this and the other, you don't invite us here to talk to them. They talk among themselves. Invite us with them, like that man from KICD, Joan. Invite him, sit here and I sit here.
Fantastic.
Then we interact.
We
We
do
could
that.
help Kenyans to understand more.
But just a moment to Pogiso.
interrupted me, actually.
Who interrupted?
You.
Oh, I did.
Yes.
Oh, did I?
You moved me immediately. I not even, you
You're not finished.
You didn't like what I wanted to say.
Maybe it was a long pause. Then I realized. Okay, continue then.
Button.
No, but basically, I just wanted to say that about the kids, and I'm not leaving the point on the kids, that there is no failure of passing in this kind of assessment. It is to assess the kids on their needs so that you can start early. Now, the other thing is that this national exam thing, the fever and so on, it needs to be cured early. And you know, this fever, when you're grown up, you know, you have a terrible fever called exam fever. You need to cure it early, and the kids will do it well. Thank you.
Okay, just maybe to get frustrations also on the ground from the teachers. We have in Kakamega, where also implementation of CBC at Eshitari Primary School in Butere, where I think Herman Manyora went to school. It's facing a myriad challenge despite the government's also ambition to deliver the program. The school's head teacher, that is Eliake Musherum, saying the curriculum involves assessing the child without basing on academics, a process he confessed was not quite easy, but they were striving to achieve. Also, we have seen a teacher at the school, that is Mr. Thomas Etemesi, saying the period given for the training of the teachers handling the curriculum was short, and many of the teachers lack enough information to run the curriculum. In Uasin Gishu County, many teachers are grappling with lack of materials to fully roll out the CBC. At Tebeswet Primary School, teachers lamented of books for the CBC as a major challenge. We have someone saying here, that is Daniel Terus, quote unquote, our teachers have embraced the CBC, but they lack enough materials as books are yet to be delivered by the ministry. The only material they have is guidelines on how to integrate with learners. So there are challenges on the ground already.
There are challenges. Dibara, I just wanted to say that even the money that we are releasing to the schools, you know, even that money, the little money that we give, you know, the capitation and the 1,200 or 300 has also not even been given to the schools.
Yes.
And the question of books is actually a very serious matter. And I think we need to really do a very quick audit about, because this is how we are going to possibly give books in Nairobi and in the near towns. And then you find that by the time you reach Pogisio's constituency, the books have run out. And I think also, if you look at the fact that they are required to register within the next 3 months, and the registration requires birth certificate. Right now, parents are busy looking for birth
certificates, yes.
certificates, and you know, we don't even have people who, we don't have registration centers in every sub-county or every village, so it means then parents have to go like 3-4 times to look for a birth certificate to be able to beat this deadline. So, you know, the level and preparedness, I think, is huge. And that's why possibly the teachers and the other stakeholders are pleading for more time and training of the teachers. We don't even have enough teachers in our schools.
Right, and the circus around this CBC also raises a lot of questions that people are asking. Why the tearing rush? And I think that is the sentiment that we have all this morning. Let's hear from Richard.
You see, for me, the request I would wish to present to the CS, Professor Magoha, if I met him, I would tell him, it looks like every decision that is being made from his ministry is always rushed. That there's no, first of all, there's no preparedness with information. It looks like we don't have a yearly program which is explaining this is what we do, this is how we're going to do it, this is what we'll introduce, this is what you require, and this is where we are. If they have that, then they should have put it out there in public so that the teachers can have it. Number two, like Mheshimiwa has said, you need birth certificates for the kids. The registration of births, branches, offices in our constituencies are not functional. They are not running. We don't have records. I mean, there's something that is actually not being done correctly. And whatever this new system we want to introduce, we keep talking about capitation. Money is not even getting into the primary schools. The teachers who are there, every time I see TSC saying we are going to employ 5,000, they are always on this 5,000 number, 5,000 teachers, 6,000 teachers, but you never know whether this is going to be done pro rata, whether this is going to be distributed to counties. We are stuck in this. There's something that is not happening in the Ministry of Education. And I think let us allow the stakeholders to actually sit down and agree this is where we are going to go. And for me, as a member of parliament, sometimes I'm really frustrated because even when we we allocate money in the budget committee on what needs to be done, even when we are working so hard with national government CDF to try and improve these facilities, even when we are trying to bring in interventions to improve performance in our schools, there is always something the ministry is doing for us not to move. So when they start, okay, we are going to bring in capitation, of course there's money which has been allocated in this budget.
Yes.
Okay, the money is going to be released, we'll have the exchequer very quickly performing and making sure that the teachers are able to move ahead and do ABCD. Immediately this comes in. Now, look at the issue of the textbooks. The Ministry of Education delivered so many textbooks to schools, they were now taking classrooms and putting those textbooks in classrooms. The children were being told to stay out of classrooms.
What?
Yes. That's what the teachers are telling us. We have no stores, we have no libraries. I mean, something in our Ministry of Education needs to be sorted out.
All right, and it's sort of a management that we're getting from Magoha is a foot on the neck sort of approach that people now also they are saying we cannot be we cannot be aggressive.
And especially the
handling issues to do with academia.
The issue that now somehow somebody has talked to CS Magoha and members of parliament, members of the Senate, and the leadership is going to meet, the education committee, they are going to meet in Naivasha. Please go and stay in Naivasha for 3 days. Come back with something solid and substantive, which when the teacher is given, it's reasonable, it's practical, and it's workable.
Okay. Okongo Mongini, briefly, as we take a short break right now, just briefly.
Yeah, I think the issues being raised here by Honorable Nyonka,
Yes.
issues of infrastructure support for schools. I mean, the implementation is so haphazard. You know, you'll be told that there are some schools that have received infrastructure support money, but I think the ones which have not received any money from the Ministry of Education to build infrastructure are the ones which are in the majority. And I think Mheshimiwa will tell you that CDF is no longer doing any infrastructure support for schools. That is now the preserve of the Ministry of Education. Take even the statistics of the number of young kids who already have birth certificates. You'll find that there are a number of students who don't have birth certificates. And then the teachers. I mean, if you don't have the teachers on board on the implementation of this program, I don't know how you're going to have it work. How will it be successful if the people who are supposed to be owning it
Yes.
are telling you that we are not on board? So I think really for me, Mr. Magoha should know that there is always wisdom at times in engaging in reverse gear and saying, fine, I'm not saying this is a failure, but I just want more time so that we can consult the stakeholders, bring the teachers on board,
Thank you.
bring the parents, ensure that we are speaking from the same page before we start the real implementation of this program.
Right, thank you.